All right, this little video will probably be a pretty fast one because I'm just going to show you how to put some buttons on the screen. Now, this is from the previous one where we were showing where we put text on the screen. We had our camera, we had our canvas, where we just put our new text on here, our text object that was a part of that, and then we had our counter, which was contained it was an empty game object that contained this count script, and inside the count script, we started a coroutine that ran every second. Right here, actually, it was an infinite loop that slept for a second, and then we updated our seconds, and then just updated the screen. And when we ran it, we got this thing that counted up. And so right now, all I want to do is I'm going to add a button to this thing so that we can reset this counter. And yeah, it's kind of basic, but you can use buttons wherever you need to stick them in your game. Like maybe you want to put it in to choose a level or modify settings or do any of that kind of stuff. So inside of our canvas here, I'm just going to right click and say UI button, and that's going to give us a button. Now notice we didn't create a new event system or a whole new canvas. That's all there, and it's all going to stay. Button actually has another component to it, which is the text that goes on it, and I'm going to change this thing to say reset. And there's other things that we could add, like for example, we could add some graphics. If we want to change it from outside of this thing, we can put a different graphic on there to make it look like you're clicking on an image, something like that. So that kind of stuff you can do. Let's see here. So the important part is that when we click on this thing, so I just run right now, and this thing is counting up, and I'm clicking on it, nothing's happening here. Because we haven't assigned a function to be called when we click on this thing. And that's, pretty important part of clicking on a button, that you have to tell it to do something. But there's down here this thing, on click, this list is empty. So we can list out a series of functions that are going to get called anytime somebody clicks on this button. And if we hit the plus button, there's not anything here that it's going to call, because right now we haven't defined anything. So I'm going to go back to our counter script, and I'm just going to make a public method called reset counter. And this will be void. And inside of this, all we want to say is seconds equals 0, and we'll update our on-screen text like that. So that's it. And so all we need to do right now is link them up. If we want to somehow be able to click this reset button and then have it call that function, we're sort of done with what we want to have happen. So selecting the button over here on the left, and then down here into this function, we need to tell it what object we're going to call. And we want to call this count script here, which is attached to this counter object. So I'm going to drag counter over and stick it in this thing. And now this function thing kind of lights up, and we can use this drop down to select something. So we can say count and reset counter. So these are all the functions that we can call. We can add as many as we want, for whatever functionality when we want to have. Just keep putting them in here, or putting them in the object. You can call functions in different objects. It doesn't just have to be this one. But that's all you got to do. And this is on click. So let's run this thing, and if it all works, as soon as I click this reset button, this thing should go back to 0. And it does. And it's on the release. All right, so now it's going back to 0. We can keep fighting it. But the thing is that whenever we push this button, it's calling this method right here, count.resetCounter, which is this function, and then it's performing the actions that are inside of that thing. So you could have in there application.loadLevel and put in the level name that you want to jump to. If you had like 5 different buttons that represent 5 different levels, you could do things that way. So this is one way to navigate through your game, change your settings. You could select colors, or whatever it is you want to do. But the really important part is that you understand how to hook up a button here, a physical button, with a piece of code. And so once you understand how to link that stuff together, it's up to you to put in these functions whatever action is that you want to have it do. And that was it. 5-minute video.